Breaking news! Controversy is intensifying in the Steel City, and rumors from the South Side are shaking the foundations of Steelers Nation. We're witnessing bold statements from a Hall of Fame legend, an increasingly unpredictable quarterback carousel, and a star defensive player caught in a storm of uncertainty. Don't worry, I'll tell you everything that's going on, and everything I've learned so far. But before I go any further, hit that like button hard if you believe the Steelers will make the playoffs next season. Man, in my opinion, the Steelers have the potential to even win the Super Bowl, but they'll have to work hard to get there. You'll see why I'm saying this soon. Let's get right to it. Terry Bradshaw, the face of Pittsburgh's golden era, has thrown down the gauntlet with some of the harshest words imaginable about Aaron Rodgers and the idea of him joining the Steelers. This isn't just another opinion from a former player, it's a radical change of tone from a Steelers legend who helped shape the identity of this franchise. Bradshaw didn't just disagree with the potential acquisition, he ridiculed it, telling Rodgers to stay in California and suggesting that keeping him for a single year would be a joke. That kind of public disapproval from a Hall of Famer not only makes headlines, it sends shivers through the organization and its fans. But it doesn't stop there. According to Adam Schefter, the Steelers might be willing to wait for Aaron Rodgers until September 7th. That's right, Rodgers could potentially stroll into the facility just days before the season opener against the Jets. For a franchise built on discipline and preparation, that's borderline insanity. How could a team that prides itself on its traditions and blue-collar ethos justify letting a quarterback, no matter how talented, parachute in last minute and take the reins? This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about, not some disjointed, drama-filled franchise clinging to desperation. And yet, here we are. While all this drama brews, Mason Rudolph is quietly, and maybe not so quietly anymore, starting to emerge as something more than just a placeholder. Rudolph, once considered a forgotten man in Pittsburgh's quarterback room, is making the most of every snap. Confidence, poise, and a growing belief from his teammates and media alike suggest that he might not be just a stand-in. If Rodgers delays, or worse, continues to alienate the fan base, Mason could find himself not only in the driver's seat, but with a real shot at being the Steelers' long-term answer under center. Think about it, a redemption arc, a hometown hero, leading the Steelers back to relevance. That's the kind of story fans live for. Now let's pivot to the defense, where the situation with TJ Watt is turning just as volatile. Watt, one of the league's premier defenders, isn't at OTAs. His absence isn't just noted, it's being dissected at every turn. His brother, J.J. Watt, even weighed in, implying strongly that the Steelers blew it by not locking up TJ last year. We're not just talking a few million lost, we're talking about risking the loyalty of your most valuable asset on the field. The Steelers could have inked him to a deal at a discount. Instead, they hesitated, possibly because of their uncertainty at quarterback. And now they may be paying for it, both literally and figuratively. Let's be real, TJ Watt deserves to be one of the highest paid defenders in NFL history. He's earned it. The fans know it. His teammates know it. His family knows it, and if the front office is too distracted chasing ghosts at quarterback to realize it, they risk a revolt, not just in the locker room, but across Steelers Nation. Meanwhile, Broderick Jones, another young piece of this Steelers puzzle, is reportedly looking leaner, quicker, and far more comfortable after moving back to his natural position on the left side of the line. Could this be a turning point for a player drafted to anchor the offensive front for years to come? Possibly. And it's one of the few bright spots in a rather chaotic offseason narrative. And then there's Rock Taylor, the undrafted wide receiver who's become a fan favorite before he's even made the roster. But now he's nursing an injury, raising questions about whether he'll get a real shot to prove himself. Pittsburgh has a history of turning unknowns into stars, but for that to happen, Taylor needs to be on the field. The question fans should be asking now is simple. How much longer can the Steelers afford to wait? Whether it's Aaron Rodgers, TJ Watt, or Mason Rudolph, indecision at the top is sending ripples across the entire organization. Rodgers' arrival, if it even happens, is looking less like salvation and more like chaos waiting to unfold. Mason Rudolph, once written off, might be the calming presence this team didn't know it needed. And with TJ Watt's situation hanging in the balance, the Steelers need to make some bold moves, and fast, before they find themselves in a hole too deep to climb out of. So here's what I want to know from you, Steelers Nation. If Aaron Rodgers waits until week 1 to show up, should Mike Tomlin and the front office finally slam the door shut and hand the keys to Mason Rudolph for good? Or does the allure of Rodgers' star power still hold enough weight to gamble an entire season on his delayed arrival and uncertain commitment? Because let's not kid ourselves, this is a team that's not just trying to stay relevant. They're trying to return to their rightful place as a perennial contender, and everything they do now will dictate how close or far they get from that goal. And let's dig deeper into the Mason Rudolph storyline, because this isn't just about a guy who's hanging around and taking backup reps. Rudolph has turned into the quiet storm of the offseason. While Rodgers' situation grows more chaotic and Fields' name drifts into obscurity, Mason's just out there, getting better, commanding the offense with a calm demeanor, and, by all reports, looking like someone who belongs. Here's the wild part. There are serious whispers now that, if Rodgers fails to show up before camp, Rudolph might actually start the season. Not as a backup filling in, not as a safety net, but as the guy. And think about what that would mean for the culture of this team. Instead of rolling the dice on a polarizing, aging quarterback with baggage and mixed locker room appeal, they'd be putting their trust in a guy who's been through the grind, stayed loyal, and never complained. That kind of leadership isn't just rare, it's powerful. And it gets even better for the fans rooting for the underdog. At 29 years old, if Rudolph proves he can lead this team to a winning season, maybe even a playoff win or two, you're looking at potentially 5 to 6 more years of stability at quarterback. In a league where QB turmoil sinks more franchises than anything else, that's not something to brush off. Now, let's shift back to TJ Watt, because this storyline deserves more attention than it's getting. JJ Watt made it clear, this should have been done already. If the front office had acted decisively a year ago, we'd be talking about TJ preparing for a dominant season, locked in with a fresh deal, energized, and leading this defense with a chip on his shoulder. Instead, he's staying away from OTAs, and you better believe it's not just about rest or routine. It's about respect. It's about principle. And if the Steelers are too tangled up in quarterback drama to take care of their best player, the backlash could be brutal. But let's not forget what JJ Watt also emphasized: TJ is going to get paid. Everyone behind the scenes seems confident that a deal will happen. The issue is when, and at what cost. If it drags out any longer and spills into training camp, the Steelers risk entering the season with distractions on both sides of the ball. And that's a recipe for collapse, something no fan wants to see, especially not after a decade of near misses and squandered potential. Speaking of potential, Broderick Jones slimming down and returning to his natural position might end up being the most overlooked blessing of this offseason. This is a first-round talent who looked out of sorts last season, bouncing between positions. But now, with 10 pounds dropped and his mindset locked in, he's sounding and moving like a guy ready to dominate. If he lives up to expectations, it changes the entire complexion of this offensive line and gives any quarterback, whether it's Rudolph or Rodgers, a fighting chance to stay upright and lead this offense. Even on the fringe, stories like Rock Taylor's continue to offer glimpses of hope. Sure, he's battling an injury right now, but there's belief in the building. If the Steelers keep him around, that's a clear sign they see potential beyond just training camp filler. And let's not pretend Steelers fans don't love an underdog wideout turning heads. This city thrives on those gritty, chip-on-the-shoulder narratives. So Steelers Nation, sound off in the comments. Should the team wait until September 7th for Rodgers to finally show up? Or is it time to hand the keys to Mason Rudolph and let this team rally around someone who's already earned their respect? Let me know what you think. And if you're enjoying this coverage, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video right here on the screen. Go Steelers!